it's Nasi Pizwane back with another episode of Sledging On Podcast. Of course, I am the founder of the show, and today I've got another amazing guest for you in Jade Garisch. But before we jump into that, I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. As you all know, that Sledging On is your number one portal to the most amazing, the most exciting emerging talents within the country of South Africa and abroad as well. So I'm super privileged and excited to have you here watching this conversation or listening to it between Jade and I. So, yeah, for those who might not know who Jade is, she's a singer songwriter, grew up in the Eastern Cape, and has been living in Cape Town, in recent times. And in June, she dropped a really awesome single with Warp Time, which is absolutely brilliant. In preparation for this interview, I've been listening to the music, and it's absolutely amazing. Jade, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, that is epic. So tell me about growing up in the Eastern Cape. How are the vibes there?
The Eastern Cape's cool. It's got a lot of talent and there's a huge pool of amazing artists, but it's very different to being in Cape Town where there's a lot of bands playing and there's like this constant you can go out any night and listen to music and stuff. We don't really have that in East London. So it has its charm, but I'm glad to be in Cape Town.
How would you say Cape Town has sort of influenced your music going forward?
I've been in a very positive headspace here. There's always, people coming in and out, and there's the music community here is very. I've actually found them very inviting and very kind. So I think it's been a lot more welcoming than I expected. Obviously, Cape Town is a beautiful place, and the mountains and the beach, and that is like so inspiring in itself.
There was a time where you were in America, I believe, and
Hmm.
it's actually very interesting because what it makes me want to know about is what the differences are between like a first world country and what we're doing here in South Africa in terms of musicians and being an artist. Are there any practices that are done in America that you'd say we as South African creators would benefit from when you're looking at the time that you spent in America in the past?
They have like huge teams, like they have people, so which artists do here, but I feel like there it's more. There's like not just there's just people managing everything for them, and I feel like independent artists in South Africa are doing a lot more on their own, if that makes sense. So I feel like what we could learn is just finding more people to collaborate and to be on our teams and ways to help each other out in a way that's like feasible and sustainable, if that makes sense.
Do you reckon you get further, as an artist with a team versus maybe doing a solo?
It depends on who's on your team. If you have people you trust and they want the same things as you, I think you'll always get further with those people. I mean, obviously, you have to have your end vision that always has to be there, and you have to always check in and say, is this team like, are we actually gelling? But yeah, I think more hands are always better than one, two.
For sure. Now, obviously, with some of your music, or most of it would basically focus more on, from what I picked up at the very least. You can correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong, but has this focus on relationships. Do things like relationships inspire good artistry?
I think it's a personal thing. I think living inspires artistry because it's funny that you say that because I think all my songs that have been released do have this kind of relationship focus, but the new stuff that I'm working on that I'm so excited about is more, it's not really relationship focused at all. So I think it depends on your phase of life, and I think they can inspire good songs, but I don't think they necessarily have to. I think you can write a song about anything, about a book you read, about a person who inspires you, about as long as I think it's sincere and authentic. But I think during that phase of my life, the relationships were quite a focus, and now they're not. So my songwriting won't
Yeah.
reflect that. Yeah.
And would you say when you're writing songs now, do you sort of look at it more on, from the listener's perspective? Do you write stuff that you feel a wider audience would receive, positively, or do you still sort of write from a perspective where it's about what you want and what you like, regardless of whether, people actually receive it well?
Right now, I think it's a bit of both. Like, I have to, obviously, you have to like what you do and be authentic to that. And um, I try and stick to that, to be honest, because I think if I really love it, there'll be someone who really loves it. It can't just be me, you know. I do try and write what I will like, but I have to be honest about that and kind of say, do I really love it? Because if I really love it and I love performing it, I feel like there will be people who will love it. Maybe not everyone, but there'll be someone. There are some songs I've written where I'm like, this is a cool song, but it makes me sad to perform this like unreleased stuff, or it makes me like, is this fun if I'm with a band, and am I gonna, enjoy it, and how is it gonna make people feel, and how is that gonna make me feel? So it's kind of like a circular kind of feedback loop.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I noticed as well on your Spotify that you've got like a merch sort of section there, which is something that I've seen. It's probably the first time I'm actually seeing that from a South African artist, because it's
Oh
mainly
yeah,
just the music that's on Spotify. Yeah, at least the
yeah,
ones that
yeah.
I've spoken to on the show. And walk me through the dynamics of actually making merch as a musician. What are some of the challenges, would you say?
In America and a lot of the places overseas, I think they have a lot of um, print as you go kind of integration. So you don't have to actually put down any money to make merch. Someone can order your merch online and it will be printed, and a third party will send it to them. You don't have to do anything basically. But in South Africa, from what I know, I could be wrong. Maybe there is a company that does this, but you have to invest a tiny bit of money, which, like, we're not earning that much in South Africa as independent artists. So that is a challenge. But there are a lot of really, I just have one shirt that I made to kind of just test that out, and I didn't get a lot of them. Um, but I got it from a local store in Woodstock, and everything's made there. And it was actually an easy process, super easy process. Um, and you can do it affordably if you like don't get 500 colors printed on your shirts and things like that. So it's like, but yeah, I think in the future I want to do more creative kind of merch. I know a few amazing jewelry makers, so I would love to do that. I love jewelry. And something like maybe picks for guitarists that I could give out, things that are um, a little bit different to just a shirt. But that was kind of just testing the waters. And to connect a shop to Spotify isn't that difficult. There's different platforms that you can integrate with that quite easily. You just have to look it up online and do the work.
I'm reminded of something that was said by another artist that I had on the show. He's part of a duo called Max and Love. And Max was saying in that interview that as a musician, you have being a musician as like being a career on its own. And then
Hmm.
below that, you've got these sub careers. So you need to do marketing, you need to do the social media thing, you need
Exactly.
to, as you're doing, you're
Exactly.
running, like a merch thing and all that there.
Yeah.
So how do you actually navigate handling so many things as a musician?
To be honest, it is quite difficult. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is like difficult because I have to be super disciplined and, kind of set these goals for myself and be like, did I stick to that? And often I don't, because, life happens. But what I'm trying to do, and I think I'm slowly getting better at it, is try and create a way in which all these things are fun for me and they kind of feel like an extension of my artistry. So social media, I don't love social media, but I'm trying to make it as genuine and as something that I do enjoy. So I'm constantly working on that, and what do I want to tell people? How do I want people to perceive me? And the same with merch. Like, I want to make sure in the future, if I make merch, that it's actually something that really excites me. So again, collaborating with a jeweler who I think is amazing. That's a way that excites me and motivates me to do it. That's kind of where I'm at right now with that, is just trying to make sure I love as much of the whole process as I can.
What would you say are the best practices as a musician for like growth on social media?
I think consistency and kind of just experimenting also. Like, I'm guilty of not doing this enough, but if you just post something and just look at what works, and you make quality stuff that you're proud of, but also at the same time, like, actually, I think a lot of us, because we're doing so much and because it's so difficult and we don't have these teams, we'll kind of post something, and then if it's a flop, or if we post about a show and no one comes, or it doesn't reach as many people as we want, we kind of just give up there, because it's so, we're artists and we're so sensitive. I think the advice would be to just keep going, and actually, instead of being sensitive, be sensitive, but also actually look at the data and see, like, why isn't it reaching someone, what is working, what isn't working, and readjust, because we are such sensitive beings as artists to kind of take things personally, but I think you can't. It's just exhausting if you do.
Definitely is exhausting. There's a song of yours featuring Rumbi that is on about 13,000 or so streams on Spotify, and I don't know. For me,
Yeah.
that's a very good indication for me, or at least one that sort of shows that people were very much in tune and enjoyed the song, as it got so
Yeah.
many people coming back and listening to it. So, what would you
Yeah.
say based off of that song and the results that you've gotten on Spotify? What would you say is sort of the formula to writing the perfect song, that is able to then you put it up on Spotify and blows up to that extent?
I think that song, people like it because it's really relatable, and it just, it follows the basic, like, musical structure that people like, and it's catchy. Like, I think if you use music theory, you can write. You just have to find a hook that's catchy and sing it and be like, wow, this actually works. And that song, when I recorded it, there was something wrong with my mic, and it wasn't picking up the full signal. It was picking up a tiny, tiny signal. So it was the weirdest process in creating it, because I just recorded it at home. So I was like not happy with the sound at all, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let go and just going to, let it do its thing. So yeah, the answer is I don't know, but
I think you
catchy and
did answer it
relatable.
though. Yeah, catchy, relatable, and what I also picked up is that it's not always the song that you have the most confidence in, because you mentioned they're having a bit of an issue with
Exactly.
the recording. And I think it's similar with
Exactly.
social media. Yeah, it's very similar to social media, because I've found that there are some visuals that I've put in a lot of like hours into, and I'm chuffed with
Exactly.
the results. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so good, and then you put it up and it doesn't do as well, and then you'll put something up that you shot that took like 2 seconds to shoot, and that does well, type vibe. So I
Yeah.
definitely see the
Yeah.
parallels there.
Yeah. And I think that's a thing with social media. Don't over invest if you know something's, like, your time or your money. If you don't know it's going to work, try it first. And then, like, maybe if you do have the budget to invest, you can, but don't, spend so much time on something where you don't know how it's going to read.
I want to sort of ask you a question here from one of our co-hosts, Megan, who asked, would Jade perform for a big crowd that doesn't know her music, or perform for a smaller crowd that actually does know the music?
That's such a tricky one, because um, if a small crowd knows my music and they chose to come watch me, like, that's amazing. Thank you. But I do want to perform for a big crowd, and I don't know if I can choose. I would appreciate both experiences. um, if the second crowd, the bigger one, oh, that's a really hard one. I don't know if it's so hard, because the big crowd could be as enthusiastic. If the big crowd, they didn't know my music and they were a very not receptive audience, that I wouldn't want to perform to them. Yeah. If
So a
they were
smaller
very
crowd.
receptive, smaller crowd, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the people who stick with you, the smaller crowd, that'll always be the fun show, right? And it'll be more
Mm.
intimate, and yeah, so smaller crowd. After thinking about it, smaller crowd.
For sure, that's a good one. Now, tell me about the upcoming stuff. You did say that it's not so much focused on relationships as much as the previous stuff was. So, what direction are you
Yeah.
taking, and when can we expect, a new single?
Yeah, so at the end of the month, I'm featured on Imrumbi's EP. I'm doing a song with him, and that one is focused on relationships, but that's a collab. So, and that's yeah, it's quite an alternative song, but it's got like a very funky kind of vibe to that. And then in my personal music, I'm doing a bit of dance music, but it's kind of got a lot of so EDM, progressive house, which is not anything I've done before, but it's working well. Because I feel like sometimes kind of the more jazzier voices sound really cool on those kind of songs. And I'm doing a few jazz covers to some progressive house songs that in a way that I think I haven't heard. So I'm very excited about it because they're songs that mean a lot to me. So yeah, I'm very excited to release those. I'm kind of just focused on things that I can perform with the band that I sometimes perform with, the High Rollers. They're really great. That will be fun and enjoyable for everyone. And then stuff that I could also perform by myself in a more like acoustic setting that I'd also enjoy. So I kind of, in everything that I've written recently, it was very in my head performance focused. Like, what am I going to do when I sing this part? Where am I going to be? Like, kind of just imagine all of that because that kind of creates a world and a story in itself.
Very beautiful. Now, before I let you go and find out all your handles and so on, what are some of the
Mhm.
best? Give me like a list. Give me like a top three Cape Town bands that people should look out for right now.
Ooh, okay. Lacanya and the High Rollers, they're great. Tyler Page, she's a singer-songwriter. Ashwin, I have to say the person I collab with, Ashwin. We have a song together called Postcards. He's got a very unique sound that when you hear him, you'll know it's him. So I would recommend listening to Ashwin. Yeah.
Hey, that is awesome. That's a very awesome list there. And yeah, even just for people that are tuning into this, I really hope that they do add those to their playlist. Jade, I want to thank you for joining me
Mhm.
on the show. Looking forward to the music that is coming up. It was
Thank
awesome
you
chatting
so
about some of the
much.
older stuff as well. And I don't want to take up
Mhm.
too much of your time. So do let me know where people can get in touch with you online.
On Instagram, Jade at Jade Garish is my handle. No spaces. And yeah, I'm on all streaming platforms. So I'd really appreciate people listening to my music, supporting me. And if you're in Cape Town and want to catch a show, follow my socials and I'll post about them and let you know when the next live performance is.
That is awesome. And for you who's tuning into this episode, we just want to thank you for, spending some time with us, learning about Jade as well. We've got some merch that we've got available in our store. It's www.sledgeunderground.store. Do check that out. And obviously this episode is going up on all platforms and our websites as well, sledgeunderground.com. Do check that out. We'll leave all the description and everything in the description as well. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, it is bye for now.